maintenance costs of building, to me, that's
You
just
ready
more.
for this new?
If you've got $1 million, you should have at least $100,000.
Had enough
sitting in a
campaign?
Mutual fund.
Oh, yeah.
Making
Yeah, I
interest
think I
for that
think it's-
residual.
You ever done that?
I think I handle that.
Well, not ready, but for that upcoming project, making,
Besides having run
7 or 8%
myself,
versus.
I was chairman of
Right,
a
well,
license
when I was
candidate,
at,
state
when I was
senate,
in,
and committee
so at my university, Manchester did, they did a little bit, but not as much, and then down at Hangar, if every dollar that was raised
Yeah.
from physical
I
asset,
think I got this
there
one
was
under control.
25% on top of that that was put into a fund just
He's
for
a
the
good guy.
long-term
He should
maintenance
get
of the
elected.
building. And they would not build that building until the 25% was matched for maintenance. And it's not sexy, but that's what you gotta do,
Yeah, right.
so.
All right.
Yeah, we're discussing all of that tonight.
Good deal.
Yep.
Alrighty. Let's see.
As long as you're fetching it. Yeah, it'd be great, Nick, please and thank you.
Hey,
And Linda, how you doing?
okay.
What brings you back here? Just can't stay away?
No, can't stay away.
Nick will buy
That's fine with us.
What?
The rose among the thorns.
I'm not gonna stand in the way of having you around. That's for darn sure. That clock's running a little slow now.
Yeah, that clock up there is slow. I wonder if
Who knows what they're doing in that lot on Center Street? Where they're putting all the pylons.
Just a few blocks down that way,
Yeah.
senior housing.
that clock is slow.
Really?
It's
Yeah,
five,
kind of like
17.
the
six.
little crow.
Okay.
That gets kind of that kind of deal. Thank you, Nick.
I wasn't sure if you'd bring a timer up, so.
Yeah, I may have one in here.
Dan did say he was coming, so I don't know if we want to wait 2 more minutes or go ahead and start.
I do have one.
Okay.
Not worried about disinfecting it after I pick it up.
Ah.
And you turn the button on.
Nope, not
No.
anymore. Just,
Okay.
it's always on.
Oh, okay. Always on.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I sit here and talk and it's not the meeting and people still can hear me?
Yep.
Well, this is a fine development. We'll go ahead and call the Board of Aviation Commissioners monthly meeting for the month of August to order. You all should have received your notices and have available to you the documents electronically. First thing we will do, I do not see attached here approval of the minutes. I don't see the minutes, Nick.
It should be attached now.
Yeah.
And I
What do I do
apologize
now?
if documents were not attached. I did not attach them appropriately the first time around.
Oh, I didn't click on it, so I don't know.
Okay.
What they were.
Okay.
I got it the second time, so.
You got a second time?
Are you connected to
Yeah.
Wi-Fi?
Yeah,
Would you like to look
You
at
may
mine?
have to close out the app and restart the app.
that's what I'm thinking.
But that's what I did to get them.
Okay.
Well, and that's where I had uploaded them, but I didn't attach them correctly, and Linda taught me what I did incorrectly
Okay.
the second time, so,
Oh, but I do have the print up already.
okay,
That exactly worked exactly. I've got the minutes now, so.
okay.
I wouldn't want to vote on minutes that I cannot actually see, but the first thing on the agenda is approval of minutes from the July meeting.
I move we accept the minutes as written.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the minutes. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. Motion carried. Next, claims. What do you have of particular interest for us, Nick?
Not a whole lot. Most of this I made you guys aware of at the last meeting. The BIT computers, that was for the finishing of the security cameras and server update at the airport. Dalton's for the $4,670. That was for the fence light and weed spraying that you guys approved at last month's meeting. Any other questions that jump out at you guys on that at all? If not, we have one load of 100 low lead and a load of Jet A for a total of $47,877.71. And I forgot to
I
call
make a
Nathan.
motion to approve those
claims, especially the Ascent for 47,877.71.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the claims. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carried. I assume you're calling our engineer, or may have already called him.
Nathan, are you on?
I'm here.
Sorry, I forgot to call you.
Okay.
That's okay.
Nathan, go ahead.
All right. Well, thanks everyone, and good evening. Just got a few things to go over, and related to several projects, I guess. First up is the Runway 1836 project. I won't read through all the bullet points in the engineer's update, but I'll just give the overall summary. The good news is we were able to secure the funding needed at a little bit lower level than what we were hoping, but nonetheless, we're still able to get the project completed to a level that we think is still in the spirit of the original plan and design. So the FAA is funding $1,927,000, and our friends at the NDOT Office of Aviation have graciously contributed $90,802. That gets us to a total of $2,017,802 to complete the project. So at this point, we're simply waiting for the process to run its course with getting the grant in place. We've submitted the grant application, and we'll also be submitting some certification documents that go along with that application. We do have a couple of items for board action this evening related to the 1836 project. The first item is a change order that enables us to reduce the previously recommended amount for award for Fenton Brown. If you recall, at the July board meeting, pending receipt of available funds, there was a recommendation to award in the amount of $2,482,466.50. As a result of the lower funding levels, we have effectively had to reduce that scope of work and the associated contract amount. So we've provided a change order that's been signed by us as well as Fenton Brown that reduces their contract amount to $1,729,301.76.
Nathan, this is Jay Rigdon. In your opinion, how does reducing the scope in terms of physically changing what we're doing out there, how will that affect either the quality or the lifespan of the work that's going to be done?
That's a great question, Jay. The bulk of what we were able to extract from the scope of work that contributed to the cost savings were a few things. I'll give probably the top three. We're still maintaining a pulverization and overlay, so you'll end up with the same pavement section that you had planned for originally. The only difference is some of the profile adjustments that were planned on what I'll call the south half of the runway. We're planning to reduce those so that also thereby reduces the amount of earthwork associated with grading the shoulders and that type of work. So that mainly is where we were able to bridge the gap. And then also exchanging sod for mulch seeding or hydro seeding. That's where we were able to pick up a lot of ground on that front. So working with Nick and NDOT and the FAA, we were able to get to a level that could be funded. But at the end of the day, you're still getting a 5-inch asphalt overlay on top of a pulverized base. That was part of the original design.
And so basically, we talk about longitudinal profile grade correction. To me, that's changing the level or the plane of part of the pavement. Am I correct when I say that?
You're spot on, yes.
Okay, and you don't believe that that is going to significantly hamper the quality of the work that's going to get done?
No.
Okay.
It's going to improve it.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, so what you need is a motion for emergency declaration change order as you've identified under board action item number 1 on your report. Is that correct?
That's correct.
I move we approve the change order number 1 from $2,482,466.50 to $1,729,301.76.
And does his motion have to say an emergency exists, Nathan?
Yes, just because and this goes along with the award of contract pending the receipt of funding.
Okay, and I'll bet your motion said that, didn't it?
Yes, it did.
I thought it did. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. Been moved and seconded to approve emergency declaration change order. Further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Motion carried.
Okay,
Second action.
Second action is a task order. This is task order number 1 for CHA. And this is for the bid phase and construction phase services associated with the 1836 project. We did go through an independent fee evaluation exercise, working with Nick and an independent consulting firm that conducted the IFE in accordance with Advisory Circular 150, 5100-14E. We were, in general, we were within 10% of each other, which is in accordance with FAA guidelines for professional services. So task order number 1, and again, this covers our bidding services along with the design changes and construction phase services, which is observation, material testing, and grant administration and those types of items. That task order is in the amount of $271,960 and is part of the AIP grant, the $2,017,802 federal grant.
Okay, so the money's already lined up for this.
Correct.
We just need a motion and a vote.
Need a motion to what?
To approve task order number 1.
I can make that motion.
Second. Been moved and seconded to approve task order number 1 in the amount of 271,960, pending receipt of the funding for that. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Motion carried.
Nathan, while you move on, I just want for the record, these documents are documents Jay needs to sign for that grant. They do not need a board motion or approval. They're just FAA forms saying that we are we are the airport sponsor, what our obligations are. They just need a board president signature on those.
Okay. What's next, Nathan?
Okay, moving on to the runway 27 obstruction mitigation, which is also dubbed the AEP Power Line Project. We are continuing, or have been continuing conversations regarding the funding shortfall on that. Even further, we've come to find that there is a state tax that was included with AEP's cost in roughly in the amount of $766,000 that through conversations with the NDOT Office of Aviation and the Department of Revenue, we're finding that we believe that that is a potentially a tax exempt item, and that because this is a federally funded project and an initiative that is put in place not because AEP is trying to improve their facilities, but because the airport and thereby the FAA and the state are initiating this development, that tax should not be assessed. And so we're working through the channels to try to get that removed. Just by pure coincidence, if we do that, if we're successful in doing that, that virtually eliminates the funding shortfall that we're experiencing right now.
So, who are the, I mean, who's making, I mean, I assume AEP made the determination that somehow this tax applied. Who is it's going to tell them that it doesn't?
We're working through the Department of Revenue right now to find the language that solidifies that because of the type of project and the type of funding that is included, that this tax should not be applicable in this case.
Okay, because I kind of had the idea it was a federal tax. Really what it is, this is a state tax.
Correct.
And we believe we're exempt because of the federal involvement.
Right, right.
Okay.
And mainly too, again, because this is a project that is at the need of the airport and not, if this were AEP going out and doing this work on their own to improve their own assets, then yes, it would be applicable. But in this case, it's AEP is doing this at the request of the airport and thereby the FAA.
Okay.
I don't have to tell you guys that AEP did not want to do this project originally. And so because we need this done, the airport is tax exempt, the state is tax exempt, the FAA is tax exempt. Why would we be paying the state a tax on a tax exempt project? And Nathan, correct me if I'm wrong, we believe this tax may be under the Indiana Utility Regulatory Commission, is that correct?
That's correct.
And so we are making contact with them. We've got channels that we're working through to ascertain, can we remove, or is this tax applicable? And if not, what documentation do we need to provide AEP to take this off of that budget
Yeah.
list?
And in fairness, they need to have that because otherwise AEP is, if we're wrong, AEP is responsible for the tax.
Correct.
They're the ones that have to write the check. So I
Yep.
understand why they would want to be careful here.
Yep.
Right.
Okay.
Yep, so we're still working through that. We're still hosting the biweekly calls, which have been very beneficial, I think. And the other topic that we're still running different channels on is the applicability of the 90% versus 100% FAA contribution with the grant itself. Haven't really made a whole lot of progress, but I know Nick has had some conversations directly, and we're still pushing that front. Lastly, on this item, I just lost my train of thought. The FAA did indicate that we do have a little bit of breathing room. We do have until April 2021, or I guess the FAA has until April 2021 to actually program and fund the grant. We obviously want to be much sooner than that, and that's we are working to push this along as quickly as possible to get everything resolved and get this under grant as quickly as we can. But we do have a little bit of latitude to work with, which is good. And then lastly, along the same lines as the 1836 project, we do have a task order number 2 for CHA for construction and grant administration services associated with the AEP project. Likewise, we did go through an independent fee evaluation process and again came within 10%, which meets the criteria for the FAA. That task order is in the amount of $155,570, and that number was also included as part of the overall grant request to the FAA for this project. So we would ask for board to take action on approval of that contingent on receipt of federal funds.
I move we approve task order number 2 in the amount of $155,570 pending receipt of federal grants.
Seconded.
Been moved and seconded to approve task order number 2. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carried.
Excuse me. Any other questions on the AEP or Runway 27 obstruction project?
No, just go get that tax stricken off of there.
You nailed it. That's, we would love to see that come off. Let's see. Next item is the Zimmer hangar and the door replacement. We've been working with Nick, and even I think this was an item on last month's board agenda. We believe we have a game plan to put together a performance spec request for proposals. Had a call yesterday with Nick and went over some options. And even as I wrote the update for this meeting, we were originally looking at 2 paths to do the performance spec package. One included a little bit more in-depth structural assessment. The other took more of a what I'll call a bare essentials approach. And after doing a little bit more digging, we talked with Nick and looked into some of the available general contractor resources around the area, even some that have done work on the airfield in the past, and even those that probably did the original construction on the hangar, and came to the conclusion that we really feel like the what we're calling the bare essentials is probably the best path forward. And in general, what this plan does, it gets a request for proposals ready by the end of this month. And Nick, correct me if I'm wrong, I think the plan was to advertise this right after Labor Day.
As soon as we get those specs, we're gonna advertise.
Okay, and with the overarching goal to push to have this thing installed by the end of this calendar year. So what the net result is of the performance spec exercise, we're estimating a fee of $30,000, and that allows us to put the package together, review the awarded design builders' design drawings and content so that it follows your preferences on aesthetics and colors and, just the overall general installation, that it's the type of door you want and those sorts of things. So all that would be included in the $30,000 fee. So we did submit an outline of this. Again, yesterday we were thinking that this might go one of 2 ways. We've since gone away from that and just recommending that we go with the bare essential package. We think that'll give you the best bang for the buck as far as soliciting and procuring a design builder to modify the hangar to fit the bifold door that's needed. Nick's got a rendering of the building, of what it could look like with a retrofitted bifold door. So that's the general objective that we're looking at.
So in short, Nathan, I'm gonna step in for a second. We've been
Sure.
looking at this from 2 or 3 different ways, as Nathan was alluding, and just because we would really like to get this done by the end of this calendar year, by them doing the bid spec performance design, which is what we're proposing for the 30,000, that is going to allow us to go out to bid the absolute fastest. So if the board elects to approve task order number 3 for this scope, CHA could potentially start this tomorrow, and as soon as that bid spec is done, we will advertise as soon as we get that paperwork from them. and that will just expedite the project that much more. If we went the other couple ways that we were looking, we could have had CHA do partial design or a full design of the hangar door, and then we would have just been looking at somebody to come in and actually do the physical work of putting it in. The downside to that is they don't have the historical knowledge of the airport, what the soil types are like, and there are builders that have already worked at the airport that have that data in-house, and by using that historical knowledge, they're going to be able to get this project done much quicker at the same standard. It will also be a lot cheaper to the airport because we're not going to have to go out and get more borings, more soil samples, things like that. We can just put together, we want this size door, this type door on this building, give us your proposal, and then we can select the low bidder from that proposal list. So I think this is a really, really solid way forward.
So there's no question in your mind, Nick, that it is essential to have outside services to get this door installed, because it is more complex than just if I'm calling overhead door and I say, come put a garage door in my house.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't get an architect, I just call them up and tell them to come on and do it.
Yep.
You're telling us you're confident this project is more complicated, that we do need to go through these steps and spend this money in order to do it.
Correct.
Okay.
We are taking, so the total of this project, and let me grab my little pointer, if I can find it. Well, I can't, I'll point. If you can see, this outline here is one door, there's a third door in the center, and a third door over here that we will be removing. And then we are putting one door to replace all three doors that is actually about 25 feet wider than the current opening, and it's also taller the whole way across. The current aircraft that Zimmer Biomed is flying, their tail will not fit through that middle door opening, which is why we have to go to this new structure.
So that 25 feet wider, does that mean the door extends beyond the, kind of the dark posts on each side? It's like a barn hanging door there?
Almost, yeah.
I mean, I know it's starting to slide like that, but.
Yep, so it'll fold directly up, and then this flashing on either side will be removed.
Oh, okay.
So it'll be 12.5 feet on either side that is added,
Okay.
give or take.
Is that gray area added, or is that structure that exists today?
Oh, here, let me,
You're fine. I just wanted this. I'm sorry, John.
All the gray around the door?
All the dark gray is going to be, that is what the new structure could potentially look like. All of the light gray is what is currently in place.
That's what I figured.
Yeah.
Are we gonna have any structural changing in that? And how heavy is that door? And is that side of the building capable of handling that?
That is why we are doing the work this way. These doors are designed to be a completely separate structure. So if the rest of the building, heaven forbid, fell down and that door was there, you could still put it up and down, and it would operate completely separately as to whether or not the rest of the building was there.
So it's not low,
It is not required, the building is not required for the door. You asked, just the weight of the door itself with no insulation and no sheeting is almost 50,000 pounds. And that's why it has to be a separate structure from the building. And so part of the cost of, so those overhead doors average $175,000 to $200,000 for the framing, all of the cabling, the electrical, or the electric motors. And then once those columns and the header are installed, the door is hung on that, and that is a separate structure from the building. So in this area right down in here and over in here, we will dig up underneath the current ramp, and then we will have to go in and pour all new footers for the support of that door. And then once that concrete has been poured, then everything else is built on top of that and bolted down into the concrete then.
Okay.
Did I say that right, Nathan?
You did very well, Nick.
Not bad for a dumb pilot, huh?
Any other questions for Nathan or Nick on this project? Okay, so we would need a motion to approve task order number 4 for $30,000.
three.
Oh, okay, it's board action item number 4, task
Yep.
order number 3,
Yeah.
sorry. Task order number 3 for the professional services for the hangar door replacement project.
I make that motion.
Second.
Been moved and seconded, any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. Motion carried.
Nathan, real quick, if that bid spec comes, if you guys complete that before the next board meeting, can the board approve me to go out to bid once that bid spec is complete, if CHA is able to complete it before the next board meeting? Or can I do that without board action? Jay, do you?
I think you have to have board action, so if it gets done before then, we need to have a 10-minute special meeting. I think that's what you need to do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That works. Okay, last
need a motion for
item
that?
on the update, I actually didn't have this on the formal
Okay.
engineer's update, but I did want to bring up the disadvantaged business enterprise program update. This is a requirement of the FAA for every 3 years, we need to update the program based on your ACIP projects and projected costs and participation opportunities for DBE businesses. So Nick and Nikki Abney from our office has been working together to complete the plan. And Nick, correct me if I'm wrong, I think the plan was, for the most part, ready to go a few weeks back and just kind of fell off the radar a little bit. But we would need board approval to allow Nick to post this to the airport's website per the FAA regulations. And what this plan does is establishes a DBE goal of 3% for federally funded projects between fiscal year 2020 through 2022.
This is
Understand what that is? The disadvantaged business enterprise.
enterprise.
The idea is that they want to, give folks who are working hard but not quite there where they should be, we want to try to promote that whenever we can. And frankly, we have to have the policy because the feds tell us we have to have the policy.
And we've had one in place. This is just the updated version of that. 3% is pretty standard
Okay,
for those projects.
all right.
And this is the entire document. I didn't think you would want to read all 69 pages of it, but I've been through it, and CHA's been great. We've got everything updated, and we are good to go. Once approved, and then once Jay signs, I will then scan this and upload it on the city website, and we will have that publicly available to anyone who is interested.
Okay,
Motion to approve?
Yeah,
Okay.
so moved.
and seconded.
Been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor of approval of the DBE policy as revised and presented by our airport manager, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, say nay. Motion carried.
All right. Well, that concludes the items I have, and unless anyone has any other questions for us.
Anything else?
Nope.
Okay, well, there's a lot for us to do, Nathan, so. Okay, thank
We're
you.
glad to be a part of it. Thank
Okay,
you.
we're glad to have you.
All right.
Nick, what's next?
I am reorganizing quickly. Give me 2 seconds. Okay. Fuel usage report. We're not quite back to where we were last year, but we're a lot closer than we've been the last few months. We're actually only about 3,000 gallons off of where we were at this time last year. So we're starting to see a slow pickup in jet traffic specifically, and we're hoping that trend continues through the fall. But unless you guys have specific questions on fuel usage report or income statements, I don't have too much to go over specifically unless you guys have questions.
You gentlemen have anything for Nick?
Yep, I'm not seeing anything.
Gene?
Negative.
Okay. That's the traditional airport manager's report. What else do you have for business? Unfinished business and new business still on the agenda.
Yep, so to go through unfinished business, we discussed last month Air Care Incorporated. I'm going to turn out the lights back here just so you guys can see a little easier. So earlier this summer, we had an appraisal done on hangars 16 and 17. Last month, we were approached by John Blosser, owner of Air Care Incorporated, asking if the board would be interested in purchasing his hangar. The board's asked me to put together some potential ideas and a presentation so that we could discuss different opportunities that this would give the airport. For those who are unfamiliar with the building, I just put a couple of photos onto this slideshow. As you can see, this section here, and if you guys can't hear me with the mic, just tell me, David. Okay. This section here is the north part of the building, and it's the office space area. This part here is the south side of the building, and it is the hangar area. So the hangar area is about 60 by 180, and then the office space here is about 60 by 80. The other thing that I will note is half of the building, so the front half here, that is a load-bearing second floor. So the first, think of the building split in half. This first floor down here is a lot of office space, and then same thing with upstairs, there's some storage and office space. And then back here is open, climate-controlled storage and shop space. This is what the inside of the hangar looks like. So this is the north side of the building, looking from the main hangar door. And then this is looking down, and then you can see the south bifold hangar, or the bifold door down there. The hangar does have two doors, so there is two places to pull aircraft in and out. This is some office space on the first and second floor. It is finished, it is air conditioned, and it is, like I said, climate controlled, carpeted, all that kind of good stuff. And then this is that climate controlled back shop area. I didn't have a photo. This is the kitchenette, and then to the left is probably a 25 by 50 storage area for parts and pieces for aircraft. And then between the two, so they were two separate hangars, hence 16 and 17. And several years ago, John added this space here, but think of it as a breezeway between the two buildings. It is it is heated, it is not air conditioned, but it is also available for part storage or machine storage, stuff like that. Any questions on the hangar at all before I move into potential revenue areas? Air Care Incorporated is currently the only airframe and power plant mechanic on the field offering services to the public. So a great example of that, about 3-4 weeks ago, an aircraft landed, and as they were taxiing, one of the tubes on their tire deflated, and Air Care went out and towed the aircraft back. They were able to fix the tire tube and get them back on their way. The other big thing that we would be missing if he is not at our airport anymore is overnight storage of aircraft. Right now, he can fit aircraft with a tail height up just shy of 18 feet into that hangar. And so looking into those different revenue areas, I'll start right here with the overnight storage of aircraft. Small single engines, I've called around to a lot of local airports. We're averaging right around $30 per night or per day to store a single engine aircraft in a building, $90 a week, and then $240 a month. And that is for heated hangar space. If it is unheated, that goes down, but this is a heated hangar. Light twin aircraft, as you can see, 50 a day, 150 a week, or 300 a month. And then it just goes up from there. And then this is a small jet, so the 150 a day, 450 a week, 900 a month it comes down to what footprint is that aircraft taking up. So if it is a beach jet that's a very small aircraft, we could be looking at numbers in this area. If it was a Citation XL, which is about double the size of a beach jet, you might get $350 a day or $1,500 a month, depending on, you know, what size aircraft. These were just some general numbers for the board's consideration. There are also some airport tenants who have vehicles that they need places to store. Those tenants pay anywhere from $200 to $400 a month per vehicle, depending on what type of vehicle it is, again, how big it is, and then to what level they want what they would want the airport to take over as far as maintenance. So those are a couple different possibilities. The big ones are right here, though, for me. If we could if we could find a young airframe and power plant mechanic to come in and rent space from us having the space, and then they could start off with a smaller shop, and then as their business grew, they could rent more and more and more of the space. The issue, I've worked with Air Care for the last couple of years. I've brought different, or I've called different airframe and power plant mechanics. I've brought different schools in, and the problem is nobody wants to have that large of an investment and that large of a space all up front with no guarantee that they'll be able to make their money back over the years. So if we own the building, we could actually basically partition the building as we see fit and as it fits our customers' needs. So we could have a small airframe and power plant shop if someone would want to start that there. We have several local flight instructors who are looking for space. They currently use the airport terminal building, the boardroom, or the round table. That's not as private as some of them would like. They would like a quiet area where they can sit down and do ground school with their students. This building has lots of space available for that, where we could set up a dedicated flight training area where if a flight instructor would like to sit down and have that space, they could. And then we could either set that up as a per hour rate, or they could pay a flat fee per month and then have as much use of that space as they would like. So there's many, many, many different things that we could do with this building. I will remind you, the two appraised values that were given for this building was $400,000 from one appraiser, $425,000 for another appraiser. Obviously, we don't have that money right now, so it's something that we would have to look at financing somehow. I would love to purchase this building as the airport and be able to go out and advertise and potentially offer some of these different services. But unfortunately, with what Nathan just said, with the power line project and us potentially having to pay a 5% share of that project, that's where this money would come from. So until we know for sure about the power lines, I don't know that it's wise for us to move forward on this. Once we know how we are going to pay for the power lines, I think at that point the board can make a far more informed decision. But I would hate to get into contract, get a loan and pay for this building, and then have something happen on the back end where we don't succeed in receiving additional federal aid for the power lines, and now we have to come up with $350,000 to $400,000 for that project, on top of the Zimmer hangar door and everything else we have going on. I don't want to put this on the back burner, but I really think, in my opinion, it is going to be the best decision forward. Obviously, the board gets that final say. I will say I've talked to some local financial institutions. If we would be interested in funding this building through a loan, because we are a government unit, we would have to work through the city on that project, but we would be looking at interest rates at 3% or potentially even lower. And so if we paid $425,000 for that building at 3% interest over 15 years, that would be roughly $2,900 a month if we finance the whole amount. So I wanted to give you all of the information, let you see what the building looked like, and then just see if you have any questions, comments, concerns, and how you would like to potentially move forward with this.
Have you had any conversation with John Blosser about what you're describing right now?
I reached out to him today and didn't get a hold of him. He's on my list of people to call tomorrow. He may be watching right now. He knows where we are financially and that we will have to go out and get a loan for this building if it is something that we wind up purchasing. I would love to do that as an airport, and even more so if an airframe and power plant mechanic is watching this right now and would like to buy the building, call Air Care Incorporated. I'll just throw that out. That would be the best case scenario. If not, I would really like to find a way that we could potentially purchase this and then rent that space out, because having a mechanic on the field is a huge asset to our airport. John has been a huge asset for many, many years and has helped pilots whose battery goes dead or tires go flat or whatever.
I'll vouch for that.
Pick something, and I'm sure he has done it over the years. So it is something that I would really like to do and needs to be at our airport, that A&P. But I think until we know definitively on the power line project, I know I'm a little hesitant, and I know that I'm sure that the city is also a little bit hesitant with the airport potentially overextending itself just a little.
Yeah, I want to give some thought, and we have to have some creativity if we're going to tie to this right now, given where our funds are. But I would like at least to let everybody give that some thought, and let's talk about it again next month. And in the meantime, I want to try to see if I can promote some internal creativity to think of different ways that we might be able to do that, so it's not going to impact our current financial situation, but it still allows us to tie into that property down the road, so.
Then I will work hard. I'll try to put together a spreadsheet of what exactly we could potentially look at for revenue in that space and try and have that ready for you then for the next meeting.
Yeah, I got some ideas too, so I'll give some thought.
Okay.
Other questions? Okay, thank you for that presentation, Nick. We appreciate you crystallizing the thought process for us.
And
What do you
then,
got next? Mowing.
yeah, second to last thing, this will just take a quick second. Talking about getting creative with funding and making a little bit of extra money, especially with fuel sales being down. I am looking at these areas outlined in red, and the number that you see is approximately how many acres those areas are. We currently mow all of those areas with a batwing mower right now. Everything inside of that, we actually mow with a finish mower. Those are called runway safety areas, and they must be kept at a certain height of grass depending on how close you are to that runway. Outside of that runway safety area, the FAA recommends that you keep grass no longer than 16 to 18 inches. Right now, we do that, but we are paying a part-time mower to go out and drive a 18-foot batwing across that ground and mow it and let it sit. I would like if the board is okay with this, I would like to start researching and entertaining possibilities to convert this into hay fields. We will not let the grass get longer than that 16 to 18 inch range. But if we can find someone locally who is interested in potentially mowing some and or all of this area, they would be making some money on their end by mowing this hay and being able to either use it themselves or sell the bales of hay. And we would be saving a bunch of money by not having to mow it, and it would just be a cost savings for us to focus on the critical airport areas that do need to be mowed. And I really think that we could, I think in the short term, it's going to be hard to find someone who is interested in paying a cost per acre. None of the ground has ever been farmed before for hay. And I also think it's going to be difficult to find someone who's interested in it, because normally you let grass get up to roughly waist high before you mow it. That is going to be a hindrance in this area because we just can't do that. But it is I do know other airports not necessarily right around us, but in the Midwest, who use those wide open grass spaces as hay fields. Some of them even do it internally. They'll go out and buy all of the equipment and then mow the hay and sell the hay themselves. We're not at that point. We don't have the budget for that type of equipment. But if we could maybe come up with a maintenance agreement with someone who would be interested in that, that is something that we could move towards over the next 2 to 5 years and find someone who might be willing to do that with our tight restrictions as far as how tall the grass is allowed to be.
Are we doing hay anywhere right now?
We are not. No, everything inside of the fence. So the big L here, we're mowing all of that about every 2 to 2.5 weeks.
Gene, did we do hay?
We used to do beans and corn.
Yeah, we've
And the
never
FAA
done hay.
Okay,
The FAA went away from that.
yeah, I couldn't remember, I mean, I remember the, actual planning out there, and, because then we were dealing with deer, and then we were dealing with coyote chasing the deer.
Yeah.
And
And that is why,
geese coming in and eating it. And,
Yep.
yeah.
and that's why the FAA does not like that grass to be much longer than 16 to 18 inches. Any longer than that, it starts to promote wildlife. And this is going to be something that we're going to have to test run and see how it works. If in the next year to year and a half, 2 years, if we can get something in place, if we start seeing an abundance of wildlife, we're gonna have to go away from it and just be done with that program.
But essentially, what you're saying is, hey, instead of us paying for somebody to mow, we want someone to pay us to mow.
Yeah,
Yeah, you convince somebody to do that, I'm all for it.
so.
Good luck to you.
Again, we may not be able to make money the first couple years until we get some of the weed, because right now it's never been kept. We just go out and mow it. So someone might have to, either the airport or someone else might have to go in and do some weed control, maybe plant some better grass, whether that's a fescue or an alfalfa or something like that, just to bolster the hay production. But over a period of 2 to 5 years, we could potentially get a very healthy grass crop that won't be a wildlife attractant, but also will be a fairly decent hay yield, and we could make some money on the back end of that as well.
Can't hurt you to look.
So,
Yeah. I'm for it.
Yeah.
Yep.
well, I will make that happen then. And unless you guys have any other questions, we will move on to the last thing on the agenda. I'm just putting that back to black,
It's just the budget.
which is just the budget. So I will be presenting this budget at the Monday night city council meeting, and wanted to present it to you. I do have an update for the board. I'm very excited to announce that we have hired 2 new line technicians. Right now with Linda working part-time, instead of replacing a full-time admin position in the terminal building, I am going to work with Linda and take over some more of the day-to-day in-office work. That gives us the room to hire a 4th line technician, which will give me the ability to have more guys working on projects throughout the week. Right now, with the way our schedule works with 3 employees, we only have about 16 to 20 hours of two line techs available at the same time. This will give us almost 50 hours a week of 2 people working together, and it's just going to increase our productivity from weed removal, mowing, snow removal, and then also maintain different projects at the airport, from runway maintenance, painting, taxiways and ramp, the aircraft tees, making new chalks. We will actually have people that can do that versus just trying to keep up with our normal day-to-day stuff. So I'm very excited that that is starting. One of those line techs will start this coming Monday. The other one is starting the 1st of September.
Okay.
So outside of that, the only big things to bring up where you will see the large changes in medical, dental, life, I budgeted high for those areas, not knowing what the new employees would be coming in with for their family insurance plans, so that will be a line 1 cut once we get those final numbers in, out of the payroll and personal services. outside of that, it's pretty close to the same as what our budget is for this year. All of our supplies, from office supplies, operating, repair and maintenance, and other supplies have all stayed the same. Other services, which is our professional services, communication and travel. The only increase there is our insurance, which I increased by 10%. Again, I have not received the numbers for that yet. Once I receive those numbers, we will make that line 1 cut. And then the other services, which is in charges, is the increase in our outdated fuel management software. If you'll remember, 2 months ago, I brought up to the board that our total FBO version 4 is no longer supported. And we can't, if something happens, we cannot get the tech help that we need to fix it. So I have put in a budget increase to cover the cost of that new software program that we will need for next year. And then on the capital outlays, we will not have quite as many equipment purchases as this year, so we've lowered that budget down to $94,000 from $119,500. And then improvements other than buildings, as you'll remember, I had increased that this year for the expectation of paying 5% of the runway project. With that not being needed, we have cut that part out, so.
Okay, explain to me on the capital outlays, tell me which is the chicken and which is the egg. Are we not going to need as much in capital because, and that's why we cut money, or are we having to cut money and therefore we're not going to need as much in capital expenditures?
The first one.
Okay.
So with the improvements in our runways and other infrastructures, we're starting to get our equipment up on a normal rotation. We are not needing as much per year to make sure that we are maintaining our facilities.
Okay, well, I know we made some good expenditures in that the last couple of years,
Yep.
so that's why I asked.
Yep. And so with that rotation, it sounds crazy, but we've already got one truck that's 8 years old, and we're looking at replacing it here probably next year. And so we're trying to get on that normal rotation so that the maintenance cost is next to zero, and if they've got more value when we go to trade it in, our trade-in cost is that much lower as well.
Okay.
So if you're okay with it, I will present this to City Council on Monday evening.
And I always forget we do this do we need a formal vote for that, or is that
Yes.
just the city making that decision?
You guys are going to give me the authority to present this to the city, who will make the final say as to whether or not I can spend it.
Okay.
I move that we allow Nick to present this to the city council as it's been documented.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the proposed budget for the year 2021. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, saying nay. Motion carried. What else you got for us?
That's it?
Josh, have anything for us tonight?
Keep plugging away, got a lot of plates.
Okay.
Good job.
Yeah, you got that right. Anything else for the good of the order?
Nope.
Okay, then we will adjourn the meeting, and the next meeting of the board is September 8th. Does that sound right?
I believe so.
It is.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's an early one next
Day
month.
after Labor
Day
Day.
after Labor Day. Thanks for calling in, Nathan.
You bet, anytime, thank you.
Thank
Talk to you
Nathan.
later. Bye.
Okay, so is the mic still on?
As soon as that comes flashing. Hello?